Executed using Powtoon.
Next, maybe you'd want to build public schools so your subjects' children could get a good education. And you'd build a big library and a public park and museums and zoos and a great road system and hospitals and all sorts of things that will benefit the people in general. And your people will love you for being so charitable and thoughtful. But again, how do you pay for it? Kings don't get castles and piles of gold by working hard. They get those things by taxing their subjects. Every penny you spend, whether you're spending it on yourself or on so-called public projects, you first have to take from your peasants. In reality, you're not giving them anything. You're merely spending their money for them. What if they wanted to spend it some other way? Well, if you let everyone spend his own money, you would have no power. Asking nicely won't do it. If some peasant wants to buy a bigger house instead of helping to pay for a library, or wants to buy more land or save for the future instead of chipping in for a public school, what will you do? If you do nothing and let him get away with that, all your power is gone. Again, to remain king, you have to punish those who won't fund your agenda. So not only are you merely buying the peasantry things with their own money, rather than giving them anything that actually belongs to you, but you're also threatening to cage or otherwise punish them if they resist your efforts to spend their money. You can loudly proclaim that it's for their own good and that your plan is better for the people as a whole, but if some of them don't see it that way, you're still going to have to send out your mercenaries to crush any dissenters.
Agenda item number 3, enforcing good choices.
So, trying to be a benevolent king by giving your subjects things that you bought with money you first stole from them turns out to be a lot less noble and less fun than you had expected. So you try a different approach. You decide to use your power and authority to make people live healthier lives. You require everyone to exercise for at least an hour a day and to eat a well-balanced diet. Undoubtedly, that would improve the health of many of your subjects. So how could they complain about that? What could be wrong with that? Well, what do you do if somebody disobeys? If some peasant won't eat his vegetables, what do you do about it? Ask nicely? Being in charge isn't about asking, it's about telling, it's about commanding. And a command isn't a command if there are no consequences for disobedience. So the non-compliant would have to be punished. Whether you take some of the peasant's money and call it a fine, or put him in prison, or have him publicly flogged, you will have to intentionally and publicly hurt him one way or another simply because he wouldn't follow your advice. If you ban smoking or drinking or using drugs or eating too much candy, there have to be adverse consequences to any peasant who disobeys. No matter how good you think your suggested choices might be, you're going to have your mercenaries forcibly punish in one way or another those who refuse to make the choices you think they should make, the choices you tell them to make. As a result, suddenly you're not just a helpful leader, you're a vicious thug. Even if the choices you're forcing people to make are what they should be choosing on their own anyway. Suddenly your good intentions, when combined with the exercise of power, become acts of violence. And suddenly your victims, I mean your subjects, don't seem all that appreciative anymore. In fact, they seem to resent you and your supposedly benevolent agenda. But maybe you can still find a way to use your power for good.
Agenda item number 4, protecting the innocent.
What if, instead of trying to coerce your subjects into making good choices or funding useful projects, you stick to something more basic, just trying to protect the good people from any nasty crooks and thugs who might be living in your kingdom, which in this case is the entire planet. Surely there can't be anything wrong with that. If there is any way to use power for good, it has to be protecting the good from the wicked. So that's what you devote yourself to, confident that you'll finally make the world a better place as king. But again, your subjects don't have a choice about funding it. If they think your enforcers are abusive or corrupt, if they think your view of justice is skewed, if they don't think your protection services are worth the price, do you allow them to opt out? not if you want to remain king. The mercenaries you hire, the prisons you build, the army you create with its war machines, not all of your peasants will want it or will agree with how it functions. Do you just say, I know best and it's for your own good, and then lock up those who don't pay? Do you force your version of justice and security on them, force them to pay for it and expect them to like it and thank you for it? To say that all you're doing is protecting people while you're sending armed thugs to collect payments from people who don't want your so-called protection makes you look more like the mafia than like a savior and protector. If some peasant wants to protect himself or wants to hire someone other than you and your goons to protect him, do you let him, or do you force him to fund your idea of justice and security? If a peasant doesn't like what your army does or how it does it, do you allow him to choose to not financially support your agenda? Again, retaining your power requires you to violently impose your agenda on your subjects, forcing them to fund it, crushing any resistance, and doing all of that in the name of defending them against thugs and thieves. And that's more than a little ironic. It's hard to feel noble and righteous, or even honest, while you're routinely committing aggression against people in the name of protecting them.
Agenda item number 5. Sit in your castle and do nothing.
Well, it seems your ambition of using your newfound unlimited power to fix the world hasn't turned out so well. You tried to do good stuff and be caring and compassionate, but everything just came out as threats and violence. Because after all, that's what law and government are. So in desperation, you decide to do nothing. You leave your subjects alone and you hide in your castle, sulking. But wait, how did you pay for the castle, and your guards, and all the luxuries you have? Even if you do away with most of it, whatever you end up with, are your subjects going to want to voluntarily pay for you to sit on your lazy butt while they deal with the challenges of reality on their own? Doubtful. So if you intend to continue in this life of luxury as king, you're still going to have to force your subjects to fund it. And that means even if you do nothing at all for the peasants, you're still going to need guards and an army and tax collectors just to remain king.
The punchline.
And that brings us to the final agenda item, the one you should have started with. When you were made king and appointed to be in charge of everything, you should have said no. When offered the opportunity to rule
last time, so you do the cake at stake. Sit. I have 9 slices of cake. If you receive a slice of cake, you get to stay for another 10 contestants in the cherry team, but only 9 slices of cake, which is now key lime pie.
I really do not like key lime pie. Yeah, neither do I. Can we change it?
No, cherries. Well, I forgot to buy a cake, so I had to make something. It's a thin-sliced chunk of ice.
Ooh.
So yeah, if you remain ice chunkless, you leave BFDI. And Ice Cube, what are you doing here? You're on the other team. There's 8 of you now. There'll only be 7 later. Okay, so we got 14 votes. Well, I wanted to make an ice cream cake, but I forgot the ice cream, so I made a chunk of ice again.
No! Out MPF. Overreacting.
JK, I have an ice cream cake. The one cherry who doesn't receive cake goes home. I mean the TLC, if you remember. Cherries, this is your 4th time here. Getting used to it?
Just get on with it.
A cake was too expensive, so I got 6 cupcakes instead. But think, there are only 6. Vote is Ice Cube.
What? Hey, that's not cake! That's modeling clay!
A cake was too expensive. Lucky, you're so...
Yay! But don't I also get some cake?
A cake was too expensive, so we'll pretend. Here's an imaginary slice of cake. Fiery is safe at 3 votes.
Yeah.
Gotten 4 votes this time, quintupling your total number of votes. You get a cake. It's fish flavored.
More like it is fish.
Rocking slices of cake.
OMG, I see you chose, like, fruitcake for the cake. That is just totally an awful choice. I mean, why would you do that? Moich is right. Nobody likes fried cake. Hoik.
Shush, sheesh. So there are 10 slices. So we got 220 votes. David, for some reason, 39 people voted exclusively for you. Voters, David was someone you were not allowed to vote for. Anyway, I have 10 nickels.
No cake this time!
Nope. Moving on. If you get a nickel, you are safe for this episode. So, this time, we have a blueberry pie.
Yum!
But be gentle, because it's explosive. One may join the game. But I'll get to that later. We have 288 votes. Anyway, here are 8 knives. If you are safe, I'll throw you a knife.
I'm not sure if I want to be safe.
So first, Fiery had immunity, so he's safe. Fling. Also, instead of a cake, we have a cracker.
Oh, cracker at steak, huh? Sounds delicious.
Everyone. Well, let's get to it. So we got a total of 450 votes. The person who gets the most votes will enter the game.
That's me.
They'll also get this yellow tomato. It's a collection of shovels.
Excuse me, but how are shovels cakes?
Well, they're caked with mud, so they're cakes. Float in the vacuum of space, so instead, I got an ice cream cake.
Yum! Wait, how would that make any difference?
Hush. If you get cake, you are safe. As a reward, you get a cake.
Finally!
It's a pizza.
What?
So now we have...
I'm the host. Oh no! The cake is a spoil cake!
Oh, they're so cute!
Care?
Whoa!
I'll give you cake if you're safe. Spongy, you had immunity, so you're safe.
16 voters voted. It went down again.
Please don't cry.
Don't worry, I'm okay. But if it goes down for a third time in a row, I swear I'll cancel BFDI. Would you please stop distracting me?
So, what's the cake this time?
It's cheesecake.
But we don't have any.
Now we do.
Oh no! Speaker just killed the cheese orb.
Cheese orb was my friend.
4 of the 5 of you are safe and will get cake. 1 of you will be allowed to not cancel BFDI.
Oh, seriously?
The cake this time is a red velvet cake.
Oh, seriously?
It was recommended by Total Drama Island 5543.
Oh, seriously?
22 cakes have come and gone, but none of them are nearly as magnificent as the grand cake.
That is seriously a hideous cake!
Really, Bubble? When did I say you were allowed to speak?
Never. But let's do cake and steak!
The, pastry is all of the previous pastries meshed together.
Oh, wow.
Leafy, stop salivating. Fiery, you too, or you'll destroy yourself.
Hurry up already!
So the person who got the most votes will get this entire pastry, along with Dream Island as well. We got 870 votes, which means there will be no season 2.
Oh.